rank where the view is nothing less than phenomenal. For how I express and project from my abdominal. The only view better, both my daddy and my mama know. No living parents, my sons give me balance. My wife is my serenity, this mic is my identity. The world is foul enough, that's why I write without obscenities. Provoking danger with broken language and spoken anguish. Begging to get hurt, why would you ask to go through changes? Yes, Lord, life's a chessboard, master the angles. Control the tempo, be the one who holds the info. Acknowledge is just as deadly as machete swings. When spoken, the truth is as potent as that Medellin. While others swear the style is free, I just let it ring. Our time is undervalued, soldiers make us better kings. My fam's on my shoulder, reaching after better things. Today I take the shot, for them I'd rather set the screen.
My mama told me follow my dreams. My daddy told me get it by any means. Stand tall, make him bow to a king. But I've evolved, you can see the resolve. Look in my eyes when you speaking to God.
Life and for those who be caught up in using what I was taught with the muse. I guess they call it proving I'm more than an artist. Penciling out my darkest while stenciling out a harvest. And storing what gets me from A to B, just like garages. Instrumental with collages. Envision what I've been drawing. Broadway to give you rhythm like the great Lena Horne. So bent on, found comfort in the storm. Find peace and on when you see them others perform. Organized chaos, I'll cast it like hey ya.
Yo, party people in the place to be. What's good? It's the number one chief rocker in Knicks universe. Your main man's Uncle Freezie is in the building. What's good? What's good? What's good? It's good to see y'all, man. Good to be with y'all, man. We're going to chop it up here for a little while. You know what I'm saying? Not staying for a long time, just staying for a good time. Y'all know what it is. It's All-Star break, and cats need a break. So throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you got some loot and a stick of juicy fruit, somebody say, oh, yeah, let's get it. Chris Burks is in the building. Drip More is in the building. Yo, the son of the legend, Kerry Cox, is in the building. Forbes Phil is in the building. Robert Paul is in the building. What's good, man? It's good to see y'all, man. Good to be with y'all, man. Let's talk this Knicks talk the way that we like to have this Knicks talk to us. Let's do it. Let's do it. I know y'all been getting a lot of Knicks content and all that stuff, man, and that's good for everybody. That's good for everybody, man. But let's have some Knicks talk, man. Let's talk about something heavy. Kev Guapo's in the building. South BK is in the building. Salute, man. It's good to see y'all, man. It's good to see y'all, man. Your man is under the weather, man. I've been like under the weather, man. It's weird. It's weird because I have a knee injury on one leg and then a foot injury on the other, and so your man's is trying to hobble his way through it. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to. Ed Winning is in the building. What's good, man? What's good, y'all? All right. So I think Dre will be coming through. I think once Adam and them see this, man, they'll be through. Corey Lee and everybody, man. Nev, the disruptor. Matter of fact, I should send out a bat signal. Man, listen, man. I've been slacking. But it's not been because it's because of a lack of effort, man. Just got stuff going on. Y'all know what it is. So let me get started, man. How do y'all feel about this Knicks run down the stretch? Yo, Rel is in the building. What's good, man? My man Rel is in the building. What's good, man? I see you. Rel is in the building. We talk Mavs. You know what I'm saying? Yo, don't nobody know more about the culture than Rel. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got to check out Rel's stuff, man. Check out Rel's stuff, man. Nobody know more about the culture. We was talking about joints the other day, like the shoe game. Bro, come on, man. I gotta get Chuck B and Rel up at the same time. DSJ is in the building. What's good, DSJ? Shout out to the members of the channel. DSJ, what's good, man? Hey, Kev Guapo says, I'm confident in this team. I feel like Brunson won't let us down as he tries to chase most improved. Yeah. I want to talk to y'all about that. I was talking to IKBM Dre maybe like an hour ago about how I feel like the Knicks are ready. Right? And not because of look, man, I know what people are going to say. Uncle Freezie, you said such and such. Hey, man, things change. And I'd be a hater to sit here and see and acknowledge that things have changed and tell y'all the same stuff. Only jerks do that. Right? Right? Anthony Alvarado was in the building. What's good, man? What's good? So what I've noticed in the last since the Josh Hart trade, let me just put it that way. I don't want to say it's Josh Hart specifically, but since the Josh Hart trade, I noticed different elements of the offense are trying to open up. Right? Different elements of the Knicks offense are trying to open up. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you, yo, Keith Turner's in the building. What's good, Keith Turner? It's good to see you, boss. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here, boss. Nev the Disruptor. Hold on. Hey, Nev, I'm glad you up. I didn't know if you was going to be. Let me do this real quick, Nev. Nev, be patient, bro. Relax, Nev. Let me do this, Nev. Relax. Nev, be patient, bro. All right, there you go, Nev. There you go. Nev needs some patience, man. You can see Nev like, man, hurry up, Uncle Freezie, hurry up. Hey, man, relax. So the point that I was getting at is there are certain elements of the Knicks offense and defense that are opening up. My question is, that was with Josh Hart, right? Now, what happens when Mitchell Robinson shows up? It's one of the conversations that I had with IKBM Dre, right? Very knowledgeable basketball fan, does his research, doesn't just, you know what I'm saying, shoot from the hip. Well, sometimes he shoot from the hip, but you know what I mean. Y'all know what I mean. So update real quick before I get into this Knicks offense. So your man has a blown out knee. So I have a blown out knee, so I can't jump now. Right? So I have a blown out knee, right? And then I have a foot issue thingy going on the opposite foot. So now I'm walking like an old man back and forth. Yo, okay, all right. DB Sports Highlight says, what's up? It's my birthday today. Happy birthday. Happy born day, man. Y'all throw them happy birthdays in the chat, man. Help my man celebrate. You know what I'm saying? Help my man celebrate. Right? So here's the thing that I want to get at, right? So I'm going to get into some basketball stuff. Right? I'm not going to get it into a specific hate or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to get into that. I don't want to talk about how RJ Barrett has been disappointing, how Julius Randle needs to stop shooting threes, how Mitchell Robinson stay hurt, how You know what I'm saying? Hartenstein was $4 million because of the way he played in the first half of the season and all of that. I'm not getting into that. I don't want to bash Tibbs. I ain't gonna get into that. What I want to talk about is basketball. Basketball, right? Just basketball, right? So in the first half of the season, a lot of us complained that the Knicks did not have back action movement on the pick and roll that we run. And what it does is it forces 3 offensive players to beat 4 defensive players every trip down. And now it's like every shot that we take is contested. Right? That sound accurate to y'all? That sound accurate, right? Tibbs don't. It basically in Knicks fans' terminology, Tom Thibodeau runs a plain offense and it has no imagination. Right? That's about what it sounds like, right? So what I want to say to you is, you're right. Right? When I'm saying to you as one Knicks fan to another, you're right. Right? But there's a caveat to it. There's a caveat in the correctness. Right? The thing is, the back action movement, players tend to run it half-heartedly or not run it at all. It's kind of like the Michael Vick Atlanta Falcons, right? It don't matter how many receivers you draft in the first round. Michael Vick ain't throwing it. Y'all with me? Yeah. Anybody hit NFL fans? It doesn't matter. Think about this. At one point, the Falcons had Warwick Dunn, TJ Duckett, Michael Turner, Algie Crumpler, and a bunch of first-round wide receivers, right? But if Michael Vick looked at that first option and it wasn't open, he was gone. Right? He was gone. One read and go. Right? And how I relate that to the Knicks is this: when you go back, or don't even go back and watch tape, throw that tape in the trash. Going forward, watch the way that Grimes and Obi and Josh Hart and RJ cut to the basket, right? Watch how they cut to the basket in one offense versus how they cut to the basket going forward. And what you'll see is guys prior to the Josh Hart trade, right, would basically cut to the basket for the sake of cutting to the basket. They not running routes because they know the pass is never coming. RJ Barrett backs up to about 35 feet, gets his screen, turns the corner going left, puts his head down going to the basket. Hartenstein crashes from the strong side, right? There's a 3-point shooter in the opposite corner, wide open. RJ Barrett shoots that layup over 2 or 3 people. Anybody disagree with me on that? Anybody? Yo, and DSJ read my mind. This is the point that I was going to get at. DSJ says, if Vic throws it, it's only to Algie Crumpler, right? So if RJ passes it, it's only a lob to Mitchell Robinson. If RJ passes that ball, it's a lob to Mitch. Right? I just want to talk some basketball stuff. Just real quick, man. Not RJ Barrett's gonna get traded for some dude. We have time to get to that. We have plenty of time to get to it, man. RJ Barrett's gonna get traded because his contract. RJ Barrett this, RJ Barrett that. I get it. I get it. But here's the thing. RJ Barrett turning that corner, going left. If he passes it, it's only going to Mitch. It's only Michael Vick to Algie Crumpler. If Algie Crumpler is not open, Michael Vick is going to run. If Mitchell Robinson is not open, RJ Barrett is going to shoot a contested layup. Right? Here's the thing. Going left, there is a read, right? Like, say, if you got your left hand in the air, right? If that defender is coming to you from Grimes, right? Then you have to wrap around pass to Grimes in the corner, and Grimes has to shoot and knock down that three. Grimes has to shoot and knock down that three. Every time I hear that beat, yo, I be thinking like, yo, where Rock Marcy at, bro?
You got good taste, man. I should put some bars to it, but I can't rap, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was thinking about throwing some bars on there, but I can't rap either. You know what I mean? I can't rap either. Again, salute to the chat. Dre, welcome in, man. This conversation or the talking point that I just started, I know it's a fire starter. It's a jump off point for a lot of people that want to have the RJ Barrett conversation, right?
Yep.
But don't necessarily include the correct elements of the RJ, or don't include the right factors in RJ's game. They look at the end result and think the end result is the beginning.
Yeah, well,
right.
They think,
what I'd like. Oh, go ahead, bro.
I was gonna say they think, like, as much as we'd all love him to make the simple read or the correct read, he's not at that point in his development yet, and development isn't linear. We'd all love him to be better.
Right.
We implore him to be. I'm not expecting him to be. I'm not expecting this to be his final form. If it is, then we may need to move on. But to break down what it is that we see that's wrong and to say it's not correctable would be a lie. And we've seen evidence of him making the right decisions. It's all about consistency with him at this point.
Right. And so, but here's the thing. Here's the thing why I think pointing out this to Knicks fans is important. Right? When you take the ball out of RJ Barrett's hand, right, and let Grimes attack that, going left or right, with RJ Barrett in that strong side corner. Now what happens is, and not just Grimes, but Grimes or Hart, take RJ Barrett off the ball, insert Grimes or Hart, and Hart is not a great facilitator in my mind. But when you tell him
simple read, you can make the simple read.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say, but when you tell him what to do, he can execute it. Right. It's the difference between the valedictorian and everybody on the A honor roll. Right. Right. So my thing is with RJ is this. My thing is with RJ is this. RJ Barrett has done something from 3-point land that Quentin Grimes has never done in his career. Right? You know what that is, right? You know what I'm about to bring up, right?
Yeah, he shot 40%.
He shot 40%.
Season.
Yes. Right? Right? He shot 40% on spot up threes, basically. He and Randle. Both. The entire team. The team in this season that I mentioned 2 years ago, the team shot 39.2% from three. We were tied with the Brooklyn Nets. The team in front of us shot like 39.8% from three, right? In one of the weirdest seasons you ever saw, right? They did it on more volume than us, but 39% accuracy from three is impressive. Okay? So what I'm saying to you, boss man, is I think what you'll see in these last 22 games is a mix of Grimes' development, handling the ball in that pick and roll situation with RJ Barrett getting more spot up looks from the corner. Right now, he's shooting 36% from that corner that I mentioned. Right. And those are on contested, catch it in the corner, make a move type threes. Right. RJ Barrett's not getting say 5 wide open threes from either corner per game. Right. What I'm saying is you give Hart the ball, right? In that, right? You have Mitchell Robinson setting your screen, and he's not a great screener, right? He's not a great screener. But he's setting the screens that the Knicks are wanting him to set, right? Basically, a sprint screen is what I call it.
He slips a little bit, kind of like he sets it and then he slips out, and then he becomes a threat at the rim, which is
he should
He should.
Right.
Like the vertical spacing is still something that, like, a dynamic that we were missing in this time that he's been gone.
Right. So what happens? In the weak side corner?
Guys wide open.
And that corner. That weak side corner should be Julius Randle. Right?
Okay. I'm thinking it should be Julius Randle, because then we would probably move Grimes towards the weak side wing, or not the wing, but the basically the wing, and Julius is in a corner while there's a pick and roll action between RJ and Mitch, or Brunson and Mitch.
Right.
While RJ spaced out on the strong side or something.
My preference, and what I think Tibbs is going to do, because we saw enough of it last year and the year before last. I think what Tibbs is going to do is stretch out the floor horizontally, where the Brunson burner can be activated. Quentin Grimes gets more. Grimes and Hart get more usage. Right. And when I mean usage, I don't mean, basically what usage means is dribble, pass, and shoot. Right. How many shots you get, how many rebounds you get, how many free throws you get. Yeah.
They're essential to what happens with the play happening, whether they're setting the screen on the ball. Yeah. Or catching the ball and making a hockey assist. Just something active within the play, which tricks defenses and helps defenses shift and react.
Right. And so I say that because I don't think, when I look at Grimes, I don't look at Grimes as ever being a 40% 3-point shooter. I just don't see it.
He might just, it's like one of those scenarios where a guy may have like the textbook jumper, and he may, it's a funny thing, like guys that jump too high on the jumpers, for the most part, instead of like Ray Allen, they're never really 40% 40% 3-point shooters. Like for instance, Tim Hardaway jumps really high on his jumper, and
Right.
that's adding an extra variable on your jumper. Because if your
Right.
timing is off in a millisecond, you're off.
Right. Yep. If you're not on balance when you leap, your shot is off because you're leaning one way or the other, and then you're self-correcting in the air, and it's just too much stuff that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So my thing is I'm not knocking Grimes as a player. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is I think ultimately Quentin Grimes will maybe be featured more as a all-around player, as a part of his development, making plays, throwing lobs to Mitch when Mitch is open. You know what I'm saying?
Taking
Kicking
cues
that
from
ball.
how Josh Hart plays, essentially, is what you're getting at.
Right. Become a smarter, more well-rounded, balanced player, which in turn helps the Knicks become more efficient so that Jalen Brunson doesn't have to be the primary ball handler for 48 minutes.
It doesn't have to be 91 Isaiah Thomas
Right.
every game.
Right. Every game. Right. Now, will he do that? Yo, Nick Yak is in the building. What's good? What's good, Nick Yak? Now, will Brunson be that in the playoffs? Yes.
He has to be, without a doubt. He
Right.
has to be.
But that's when teams are playing for their mortality, right?
Mhm.
But when you're just jockeying for playoff position, the main thing is staying healthy so that you can get to the playoffs.
Exactly. And you don't want to burn your players out, which is
Right.
when we get fully healthy. I don't anticipate, well, I hope, I don't anticipate anyone playing more than 35 minutes a game,
Yeah.
34, 35,
Especially down the
hopefully.
stretch.
Yeah.
Especially after these next 12 games. I could see Tibbs maybe taking his foot off the gas a teeny bit, but not in the energy. The energy is still be at 100%. I think the personnel, the minutes will look different.
The
Like what you said.
rotation,
Yeah.
we may not see Randall play the entire first quarter. You may
Right.
see him come out at the 10-minute mark instead of the entire 12
Right.
minutes.
Right.
Stuff like that.
And back on the basketball floor, Julius Randle in his mind feels like he's a 3-point shooter. Right? In his mind,
Yeah.
whether we agree with Randle or not, clearly there's something going on in practice where he is
kind of
impressed with
has to.
himself.
He kind of has to, because in this iteration of the NBA, if your high volume guy is not taking threes, whatever the percentage is, you're probably not going to win. Like, look at DeMar DeRozan, for example.
Okay.
And you see, like, Brunson is taking 5 threes a game. Like, you
That's
have
new.
to take threes. It's
And
new
that's
for
new.
Brunson, but he
Yeah.
has to do that while being a high volume player, because you're just limiting your offensive firepower at that point. If
Right.
you're just gonna take all that usage and just put it into just 2-pointers the entire time, you have to stretch your ceiling in terms of
Okay.
firepower if you're
Okay.
gonna run a high usage player. So when you watch
Right.
like the Chicago Bulls, if you look at the Chicago Bulls, they're one of amongst the most efficient teams in the half court. Like, they shoot almost like 50%, but they're a
Okay.
terrible 3-point shooting team, which is
Right.
why their offense isn't very good.
And the funny thing about that is, I think Vucevic is a threat from 3.
Right?
And I think
He's
Patrick
pretty good from the
Williams,
3.
and I think Patrick Williams, whether people believe it or not, Patrick Williams is a good 3-point shooter.
Yeah, but their
Yeah,
diet of threes isn't high enough.
Right. The diet of threes for them, like what DeRozan and them want to take versus what they take is not high. And at the same time, the 3-pointers you put on the floor with DeMar DeRozan are not really what you would consider threats. Let me just put it that way.
Right. They're
Because
not
Kobe
someone that
White,
you're
in
scared
theory,
of.
has disappeared, right?
Yeah, Kobe White is very up and down. He's essentially your sixth. Well, he's just a very highly volatile 6'9". Like, one night he can go for 25, and then for 7 straight games you may not get him to double digits.
Right.
He's like Malik Monk, but worse, kind of.
Right.
Sorry to say.
Right. Justin King is in the building. What's good? JK is in the building. Shaw Legacy is in the building. What's good, man?
What up, Shaw?
So,
What up, Comega?
so,
What up,
so
P?
yeah, man. The hip hop legend called Mega's in the building. So, man, basically what I'm getting at, Dre, is I think the Knicks offense is going to take a different look. It's going to look different, but it's the same offense. It'll be executed at a higher level with better and smarter players.
And probably a higher pace.
Right, right. Yo, shout out to Danny Thomas. Danny Thomas, shout out to the members of the channel, man. Salute, salute, salute.
This is something I'm praying for, but the last time we came out of the All-Star break, RJ dropped 44 or 46 on the Miami Heat.
Okay.
After he was struggling before the break. So maybe he needs a bit of a recalibration in his game or his shot.
I'm gonna say this to the RJ thing. I think RJ Barrett is being used incorrectly because you don't have to be you don't have to storm the castle, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? All the time. Right? RJ Barrett storming the castle, that's okay. I can live with it, right? What I can't live with is RJ Barrett storming the castle and 2 New York Knicks are wide open and RJ Barrett tries to shoot over the top of Nicholas Claxton.
It's like when the game went, like, it's like he presses when his jumper's not going. He's like, I need to get to the rim to draw a foul or to make a shot at the rim just to get something going. And he just has his blinders on. He doesn't necessarily have the capability to be very effective when he's having an off shooting night. Like he won't have one of those Draymond nights where Draymond is like 1 for 6, but Draymond also has 9 assists and like 12 rebounds.
And 3 key defensive stops.
Right. He doesn't have that ability in him.
Yeah, that's the part. That's the part that's missing. Right.
And it's like I think he knows that he's a little bit slow right now.
Right.
Like very slow. So he can't even necessarily get like deflections again into a fast break. Like his fast break scoring depends on other people getting long rebounds and deflections for him to leak out. He can't really generate it on himself. I think I think the whatever like the athleticism we may have seen in the first year or two may not be here right now. I think I'm pretty sure he's going to bounce back in terms of his being a little bit more spry and like working on his body over the summer. But I think he put on too much muscle to fill in this supersized wing role that Tibbs had in mind for him. Because he's checking all these huge wings and he needs to wait for it. But we overlook the fact that a lot of these guys, this current iteration of the NBA, they can attack a closeout just as well as RJ can, or better. So when he's lumbering over there, he's just at a disadvantage with how slow he is currently.
Yeah, and for the most part, pound for pound, big guys can't shoot.
Right.
It is what it is, pound for pound. Now I know people will say, "Man, but Davis Bertans is 240," but Davis Bertans is what 6'10"?
Yeah, he's like 6'10", 6'11".
6'10", 6'11"?
Yeah, he's tall guy.
Yeah. Pound for pound, big guys can't shoot. It's just what it is, right? You may find
Corey Maggette couldn't shoot because he had all them damn muscles.
yeah, and so when we look at the archetype, and I don't want to talk about RJ Barrett, man. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I and not in that role. What basically what I'm getting at is the reason why Julius Randle is not a consistent 3-point shooter is because for the most part, dudes 250 pounds are not built to shoot 3-pointers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And the fact that he's a decent, all right, 3-point shooter is you know what I'm saying, is all right, you know. But the thing I wanted to say though is the evolution of Quentin Grimes going forward and Josh Hart in that role, pick and roll ball handlers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Turning the corner, going left or right based on what the defense is adjusting to. I think we'll get guys like Randle and RJ and Brunson more open looks and easier non-contested looks from three. And I think that is what's going to get the Knicks into their bag, because no matter how Grimes' shot form looks, he's never shot 40% in the NBA. Will he eventually? Maybe. I don't know. I don't
He's
have the
only
vibe
shot
that he
40%, but 1 month in his career from three thus
will.
far.
Yeah.
One out of like 6 months or something like that.
And the thing is, it's not like Grimes is not getting open shots.
Oh, he's getting them open looks. He's just
It's not like Grimes is not getting open looks from three. Right? But what I'll say is this, and I know it sounds bizarre. It sounds like something out of the DCU, right? That you take a non-shooter in RJ and spot him up for three, and take a baby playmaker and Grimes and give him more of a playmaker role. It sounds bizarre, right? But I think that's how you overcome the lack of Mitchell Robinson not getting touches. Mm-hmm. That's how you overcome the frustration with RJ Barrett going to the rim and constantly throwing up bricks, right? And I think that's how you overcome Grimes disappearing during games.
That, and one last thing, overcoming teams overloading the double team Brunson and Randle almost every time down.
Right.
Because like in the first half of games, teams don't really double them. But by the third and fourth quarter, you know, those traps are coming.
They're trapping 35 feet away from the basket.
Right. And then by the time we realize it and we try to like go to other guys, Grimes is already cold. And he doesn't necessarily have anything going that night.
And basically and basically what I'm saying is the trap that you mentioned, it's not new. If you remember, New Orleans introduced it or reintroduced it against Damian Lillard. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
How they trapped Damian Lillard in the playoffs 35 feet away from the basket, Terry Stotts. And every time I say his name, it just frustrates me, man. But
they blitzed him with Drew Holiday and AD, and there was nothing he could do.
There was nothing he can do because he was too far away from the basket. You don't want to make long passes on a basketball floor. Right?
I think part of the reason why Dame takes all those super long threes now is to avoid the trap.
Right. And you know why that is, right? I'm gonna say three names. It's gonna frustrate you. The reason why that is because of three guys. Two guys. I'm sorry. Johnny Bryant, who used to talk to Dame Lillard while he never worked for Portland. He has a relationship with Damian Lillard. And the second guy is a dude named Caleb Canales. Right? They say, hey, Dame, listen, can you see the rim from 26 feet? Yeah, I can see the rim from 26 feet. Well, why do you need to dribble all the way up to the line, get your toe to the line to shoot it? I don't need to dribble all the way up to the line. Well, shoot the ball.
You see the double coming anyway. You might as well just put it up.
Right. Because it makes sense. And the reason why it frustrates me with Caleb Canales is because you had a young, innovative assistant on the verge of who, for one, is a co-architect of Dame time. You bring him here to New York and you don't even use him. You use Mike Miller, a dude that run horns. Like who can't run horns all night?
Horns are some of the high schoolers run, man. You can't. Might as well just tell them to run floppy at that point. Like
run floppy, bro. Just run floppy. Right. Just run floppy.
And it's
Right.
you can get to the super chat, Freezie, if you don't mind.
All right. Yeah, no, I got it. So Justin DW says, what's a disappointment for this season and what's a overachieving season from this current roster? And RJ struggling, but we move him or the coach. What's a disappointment for this season? And what's an overachieving season from this current roster? And RJ struggling, but we move him or the coach. I'll answer the second part first. RJ struggling is partly RJ struggling, partly the offense struggling, right? Because RJ is struggling at the same time a lot of other people on the roster are struggling. It's not just RJ. It's like we pick out RJ and say RJ struggling, but we don't look at Grimes' numbers during the same time period, right? We don't look at Hartenstein as a backup big, like what you know what I'm saying? He was brought in to be a certain thing, and he has not been that, right? I'm gonna say this. I think RJ and I think the core going forward is gonna stay intact. Right. In terms of disappointment this season, I guess it depends on perspective.
Yeah, he was asking you or me because I was gonna chime in.
Now go ahead, bro.
We're gonna say like a disappointment in this season would be winning less than 2 games in the first round. Minimum, we got to win 2 games in that first round. It got to go 6 games, in my opinion. And overachievement will be getting to the second round and putting a real scare into a team. I don't expect winning a second round, but going 6 games or 7 games in the second round would be an overachievement in my eyes for this current roster. Now, if our coach was different, then I'd have different expectations, if that makes sense. But relatively,
I would say,
yeah, go ahead, Free.
I think the disappointment and overachieving thing can both be had in the same breath. Like, for instance, what happens if somebody gets knocked off? What happens if one of the beasts get knocked off?
Or like the
and
Bucks
we can see,
or
yeah, or Boston. What happens if they rookie coach gets overwhelmed in the playoffs?
They'd have to lose in the first round.
Yeah. What if they do?
Oh, who do you think is actually more likely to them losing to, like the Wizards in the first round or
Miami?
You think Miami's gonna drop out that far? Because I think the Nets are gonna fall out, and it might be Miami going against the third. That might be like the Sixers in the first round or something. Like if we move up and it'd be 5-4 Cleveland Cavs with us, Miami at worst would be like 6th, in my opinion.
With Brooklyn 7,
Right,
and Washington 8.
right.
Hmm.
And then they would be going against the Sixers in the first round. In which case, I could see the Sixers losing. In a 7-game series, of course, against them. But then the way the bracket is set up, regardless, we'd be facing 1 or 2, and I don't see anybody that far down in the 7-8 range being a real threat to the Bucks or the Celtics, provided health, of course. Health is the most important thing. Because as we speak, Giannis has like a wrist injury, and he flew to New York to get it checked out. So we don't know.
Right.
I think the Nets are going to fall out into the 7th slot, though. 7th or 8th. They won so many games before that they won't fall off too far in the 20 games left. But I also don't see them. If the Knicks continue playing at this pace while we're gaining health, I don't see the Knicks falling back at any point. Like the lowest we'll go is sixth, and I think we have a real solid chance at 5.
Hmm.
And if we hypothetically we ran into the Sixers in the first round, I wouldn't necessarily be so scared of it because it's Jim Harden and Glenn Rivers that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So they don't
Yeah.
necessarily put the fear of God into me.
Nobody.
Exactly.
Right. Hmm. It puts
But
me in
like,
that weird space, bro.
because like either way, we get into the second round, we running into a juggernaut. Like we running into one of those two teams that are expected to go to the finals, or they're expecting themselves to go to the finals. We don't coming into the season, we didn't have those ambitions. Now, seeing the level Brunson is playing at, it makes us think we're a little bit closer, not too far off from those types of ambitions. But we're just away from it. Now,
All right.
hypothetically speaking, if we were to get an efficient version of RJ, we could legitimately beat anyone on any given night. But that's a big if.
Right.
This is a
Well,
big ask.
I'll say this. It's Tibbs time. It's Tibbs time. Right? This
I,
is the time of year that Tibbs figures out what he has on his roster and he executes with it. And the only
it,
thing that'll beat Tibbs down the stretch is when a team just flat out has better players than what we have.
or if they get hot, like raging hot from three. Outside of that, no.
Right.
Especially going down at the end of seasons, Tips teams usually finish out season strong. No matter what, if they're having a bad season, they finish the season strong. If they're having a good
Yeah.
season, they finish the season strong.
Yep.
So usually he kind of like whatever rotations or offensive system, it's usually all the kinks are gone by this point. Everything is streamlined and figured out, and teams
Right.
run basically well oiled. The only issue is when you get to the playoffs and you're streamlining everything, your first plan may not always work, which is where
Right.
he gets in trouble because
Right.
historically he's been slow to adjust.
Right.
So he's the floor raiser, not necessarily the ceiling raiser, but you'll put a respectable product out on that court, no matter what kind of roster you give him. Relatively, he'll eke every win out he can.
Right. Right. I get it.
I do think if we end up in the 5 and 4 seed, we can beat the Cavs. Like the Cavs don't scare me whatsoever.
I like that matchup. I just don't like the fact that I like that matchup. Let me just say it. Let me leave it at that.
But I was gonna say, what do you don't like the fact of?
Mm, superstar calls.
Mm, but they only have one superstar at the moment.
How many do
Donovan.
we have?
I mean, you said Brunson's a superstar just a few days ago, my man.
Right, but I'm not an official though.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, then there you have it.
Right, right. Um, I think what Tibbs is looking at now, the coaching staff is looking at now, is a world where they stop ramming RJ at the rim and spreading the floor out more so that Randle can attack closeouts, so that Brunson can attack closeouts, so that RJ can attack closeouts. Basically, what I've been outlining is Tom Thibodeau going back to a more traditional backcourt
Word.
play. It's as simple as that. right? Where Brunson and whoever the other guard is take up the primary ball handling. It
Right.
should be about 65-35. Right? Unless you have like a Luka Kyrie situation where
Where
it'll
they
be
could just
50-50.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
And
you
it's not your turn, my turn. It's not that. It's more of a stagger them against units when they're on the floor. They use their gravity to attract defenders away from the other ball handler.
or they just play off of each other. You know,
Right.
and the way you describe how RJ is being used, it's almost like what are those things that the police use? They're breachers. That's
Yeah.
that's, that's kind of how we deploy RJ. Just throw him out there like a missile.
Yeah.
Just let him run head first into the other team's center. And if he
Yeah.
misses, get the offensive rebound and clean it up. That's
Right. But
that's
we
our
don't
game
kick out
plan.
to we rarely kick out to wide open 3-point shooters.
Nope.
And when we do, they can't shoot.
And if we're keeping it a buck, Freezy, if you look at how Brunson and Randall play, when they get a head full of steam, they're not necessarily looking for shooters off rip initially. And I feel like
Right.
that's part of Tibbs' game plan. Like put pressure on the defense, make them foul you, get offensive rebounds, which is what we live off of. Like our shooting percentages dictate we don't shoot that well, but we're so
Right.
dominant on the offensive glass that it doesn't matter. Like
Right.
it's very rare that a team is bottom third in shooting percentages, but also top third in offensive rating.
Right. Rare. Detroit Pistons style, 04 Pistons style.
Right.
Right.
We're legitimately
That motto
beating.
never works.
It can work feasibly, but consistently in the playoffs, it's not something that you can live off of. And I can give you an example of how it didn't work last year in the playoffs. The Grizzlies played the Warriors, and by all accounts, they're bigger than the Warriors, but the Warriors held them off the glass by
Right.
team concept of we are going to everyone gang rebound. We are not going to let Steven Adams get 7 offensive rebounds and give
Right.
them extra chances because they can't really score in the half court besides the help of offensive rebounds. So it's like you can scheme that out, which might make it difficult for us in the playoffs, like high end playoffs, not maybe the first round. You can get by in the first round with that, but a la like the Memphis Grizzlies did against the Timberwolves, while the
It
Timberwolves were
depends on
shooting
your
themselves
matchup
in
in
the
the
foot.
first round.
Yeah,
You
for
might
sure.
I don't know if we'll be able to out rebound Cleveland like that.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure about that either because they had 2 legit 7-footers, even though they're 7-footers are string beans in Mobley's case. Because like if Randall decided to box him out, he can box Mobley all the way out to the 3-point line relative
Right.
if he decided to do that. But
And
as far
Jared
as
Allen.
Allen,
For my money, I think Randall is stronger than Jared Allen. Right?
yeah, but Jared Allen's gonna be on Mitch though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
have similar frames, him and
Well, you would want him to be on Mitch, but when the ball goes in the air on a missed shot, you just box out the closest person.
right, absolutely. And
Right.
with Randall like not being the tallest person, he always has the center of gravity on his side in terms of other
Yeah.
bigs.
The
He just
Rodman
moves
effect.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just
Yeah.
pushes guys out the way once he decides to
Yeah.
put his mind to it.
I would say if Tibbs is in fact looking to I was going to say diversify the offense. I don't want to say that. I want to say it like this because Emmanuel quickly is the diversification of the offense.
I was gonna say
Right.
empower certain players.
Empower certain players. Yeah. Grimes and Hart with RJ touching it less, but still being involved. I
Because
think
we
that's
could
what.
run a lot of the same principles that we're doing is just with other guys touching the ball. Because like drive and kick offense we're trying to thrive off of. In terms of other guys getting their hands on the ball and putting teams in disarray, their defenses in disarray, it helps. It helps having the other guys, the role players, put pressure on defenses. Because if teams are scattering all over the place already, imagine Brunson attacking closeout. Imagine Randle attacking closeout, a late closeout. Then you're pretty much helpless. But what we're like Brunson and Randle are legitimately scoring on loaded up defenses.
Right.
And if we had
And
everything
that is my point.
right, and if we
My
had
point is
everything a bit more streamlined, Randle would be a 50% type shooter, relatively. I think a lot of Randle's touches are difficult shots.
okay.
Not anything on his own. Like I don't think he's intentionally trying to take hard shots, but it's like a product of the offense and a product of certain players not being used to the best of their abilities to alleviate some pressure off Randle. Because as much as we know how skilled Randle is, he's still a power forward.
Still 250.
Yeah,
Still a power forward.
right.
Right. And therein lies the solution. The solution is Hart and Grimes with the ball in their hands more, having given your 250-pound all-star power forward the opportunity to take advantage of mismatches.
Man,
And
like
historically, the 250-pound power forward had to go up against set defenses.
I want to harken back to you remember that play that Markkinen got where he had a cut where he cut across Randall's face
Right.
with momentum and he just punished the rim.
Yep.
We need to like utilize like how much of a bowling ball Randall is and having him in motion away from the ball and just catching the ball and going.
So that play that you mentioned is called a double reverse double drag screen.
Right.
Right. That's what that is. It's not as simple as
It's not as simple.
Randall.
There's other off ball actions happening to distract the defense, which is why Randall was
Right.
caught sleeping.
Right. Because Randall had to make a choice. Randall had to make a choice whether to go get the guy that was cutting in front of his face or stay where he was and prevent the guy that was cutting behind him. Randall
And he
chose to
assumed he
stay
was
with the
going to
guy.
cut behind him, but he just cut right in front, which caught him
No,
off
no,
guard.
no, 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 not that, not on that one, not on the marketing dunk. On the marketing dunk, marketing cut across his face and got a dunk. What I'm
Right.
saying is there was a rotation of a 3-point shooter in front of Randall's face. Right, but when marketing took off, another guy rotated to the place that he evacuated. At the same time, a guy threatened to go behind Randall, headed straight to the rim. So if
Mhm.
you're one person, you're like, do I close out on this three? Do I bump marketing and pass him off, or do I sag to protect the rim? Well, for one, Randall's not a rim protector, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Two, Randall is not the best on closeouts on the perimeter, right?
Because he's still a 270. I mean,
Right,
he's still a power forward. He's I think he's more than 250. I think he's around 260 Freezy, to be absolutely real with you.
right. But I understand. But the point that I'm getting at is threaten the rim, threaten baseline, threaten the paint, 3-point shooter. All Randall has is a second to figure out what he wants to do. And as soon as he thinks about what he wants to do, the decision has already been made by the offense.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's a play. Brad Stevens runs it all the time. Or Brad Stevens used to run it all the time. He's going to threaten you with Tatum and Brown, double drag screen across. Do you give up the lob to Jaylen Brown? Do you give up the momentum play to Jason Tatum? Or do you give up a three off the perimeter, probably to some big? Like, I don't know if the Celtics even had a big that could shoot the three, but it was usually a big that pulled your big out to the perimeter, right?
Mhm.
To put your whatever in jeopardy. The Celtics had a big. The Celtics had a big 2 or 3 years ago that could shoot the three.
They have a big now that can shoot the three. Al
Al
Horford.
Horford. Al Horford.
Yeah.
Al Horford.
Right.
So you have Horford up top pulling Mitch out to the perimeter, right? And then now you have Randle. You have Randle there making a decision. Do I stop the lob or do I contest at the rim? Right? And so by the time he figures something out, the play has already been set. Because even if you indecision leads to a dunk, the wrong decision leads to a three, right? And the wrong decision leads to a lob at the rim. You know what I'm saying? And teams run it all the time. Randle got caught, and that teams get caught in that a lot. They'll run it. They run actions off of it. You know what I'm saying? To set you up. They just drag somebody across the paint, and you just bump them, and then you see the other guy. You're like, oh, you almost set me up. You almost backdoored me there. I'm too smart. So you don't give up so you don't get backdoored. So Knicks will be on Twitter. Look at Randle getting backdoored. But they don't see that, you know what I'm saying, there's a guy right in front of his vision coming open for three and a guy crossing in front of the lane where he has to either bump that cutter or sag back. Either way, you're giving up a floater, you're giving up the lob, or you're giving up a three. Right? The thing is, Knicks fans will clip that and put it on Twitter. Look at Randle. He was out here just napping. No, bro, they ran a play. Can we give the other team credit for doing something? I mean, yo, we like, nah. The only reason why we lost is because the Knicks didn't do something. Nah. Other teams are talented too. But I understand the thing you're saying about marketing. In that case, I'm bumping in marketing. He's their all-star. I prefer to give up a three to Kelly Olynyk.
for sure.
You know,
especially because Kelly just got back, so he's been out for a long time.
Right.
But I think the adjustment that may need to be made in the last 20 or so games will have to lead into the playoffs. Yeah.
Let me ask you this real quick. That play that you just mentioned about marketing, does that head coach have Celtics ties? Because that's a Boston Celtics play.
It is. He was the assistant for Ime Udoka last year.
Okay. All right.
Before he got this job. And Danny Ainge picked him up for obvious Celtic ties.
Okay. That's a Celtics play, bro.
Yeah, and it's a play that Tatum himself gets freed up on often.
And Brown, bro. You can't stop it, bro. You can't stop it because once both of them get free off the screen and they run the double jank screen across the paint. At that point, all you can do is foul. Right.
That's about it. Sometimes they run so much dummy action it catches you
right
staring in. It's almost like, and when you play football, they show you a screen on one side and then the other screen, the dummy screen on one side, and then they throw the screen to the other side just to catch the linebackers peeking in too hard and being too aggressive.
The safeties are crashing based off of what they was taught in the meeting room, but the screen is actually to the opposite side. Now your defensive ends got to haul butt out there to break it
and
up.
They flat-footed.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, I understand where you're coming from with the marketing play. The thing is I wish the Knicks would run stuff like that.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Little jealous of that. But that's a, you know what I'm saying?
Because a guy like Randle with momentum, there isn't but so much you could do to stop him once he gets rolling.
Right. But that's a play you run with athletes, though.
I mean, he's an athlete in the non-traditional, like, vertical explosive athlete. But if Randle gets rolling, as you've seen, he can get up there a little bit. And to this effect, if he's rolling to the rim off an action and if someone's trying to recover, he's going to get fouled.
Okay.
He may not finish, but he will get fouled.
Right.
Because that's the only way you're going to stop him from putting up a quality shot at the rim.
Right. What I would say, that would definitely be a nice second unit play.
For like Obi or something?
Yeah, Hartenstein, Hartenstein, Obi, and maybe Josh Hart.
Right.
Only thing though is one guy is super physical and small, and the other guy is big and not physical. And the 3-point threat, Hartenstein won't shoot it.
Yeah, it feels like it feels like when Hartenstein's on the court, he can feel Tibbs staring at the back of his jersey. So he doesn't like he feels the lasers in the back burning a hole through the jersey in his back. So he doesn't put up the jumper.
Right. And do I feel Obi Toppin can finish at the rim like Markkanen?
Provided he has the first step, yeah. But relatively, Obi doesn't like going through traffic, if you get what I'm saying. Like if you meet him at the rim, sure. But if you're already at the dotted line, he's not gonna go up through you or up like through your body. He's gonna try to go over you and throw up like a little floater, which is kind of soft.
Yeah.
like a little push shot. And he behaves like he's RJ in terms of athleticism when he gets in the lane. And I'm just like, just go up, man. Even if you get hacked, you're the reason why some guys get foul calls is because they just go up. And things get exacerbated and look worse when you get fouled in the air.
That's what RJ does.
Except RJ has a 2-inch vertical. So it doesn't look as bad. RJ needs to just start, like when RJ gets fouled, he doesn't actually fall all the way on the ground. If you watch Jimmy Butler play, Jimmy Butler necessarily when he gets fouled going to the rim, he's not necessarily jumping out the gym when he goes to the rim, but he sells the hell out of a call. RJ doesn't know how to sell. Like he just falls. Either he just falls or he just takes the hit and then he stares at the ref and then the other team is already in transition while he's staring at the ref.
Same thing with Grimes. Grimes doesn't know how to sell a foul call yet.
Right. But that's the next stage of his development because while Hart is better than Grimes right now, at the same age, when Grimes is 27, they will be not comparable whatsoever, in my opinion.
No.
A lot of what Hart does is just getting it off the muscle and out hustling and out grinding people.
Right.
But at that point, Grimes will fill out his NBA body, which he's almost there at this point because he has an NBA body. He'll get the smarts, he'll get the craftiness and the wits of his game. He'll know how to use his left and his right hand instead of just his right hand. And I think he may like Grimes will turn into the type of role player you'll need on a championship caliber team.
Did you just say championship caliber team?
Yeah, I did. You need guys like Grimes if you want to go all the way. Like, look at the Derek Whites of the world. Guys like that.
Yeah.
I feel like Derek White won Player of the Week last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And they heavily lean on him because of injuries. And guys like him, they step up when they're needed, and they know how to play within their role when all the guys are back.
Oh, okay. So, Derek White, I watched the 2 Celtics games that he went off.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, there were so many defenders on Jason Tatum. You thought he was like the sun. You thought there was.
I'm saying, but you need the guys to capitalize off of that. When I say championship contenders, Jason Tatum is the kind of guy that you build your championship team around, him and Jaylen Brown. And then the tertiary players, the guys that execute and are super efficient off of the heliocentricism of the Jason Tatum is what you need. Like, you put like Grimes 2-3 years from now around a superstar, you'd be like, this dude Grimes could average 20 something on his own.
could
right,
have a Paul George like impact, right?
right, right.
Yeah, I said that before. People, maybe thought I was saying he was going to be
But
Paul
people were
George.
thinking, oh, is he Paul George? No, no, that's not what you're saying.
No,
It's just-
that's not what we're saying. Yeah, yeah. But could he be a solid number 2 on the wing for a team that has a championship level wing player or point guard? Yes. Yes.
it's kind of what they're trying to turn Desmond Bain into. That's what
Oh,
the Grizzlies are trying to turn him into. At least.
the next 2 years, who would you prefer, Grimes or Desmond Bain?
Ooh. The next 2 years, because Desmond Bain is averaging 20 like right now on like high
Mm-hmm.
volume from three
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
very good defense.
Yep.
I'd have to know what's their ages though, because the ceiling of Grimes is higher because he's simply more athletic and he can play make a bit more. He has a little bit more handle. But let me see. I'd have to know their ages for me to fully rule that out, and it would depend on who Grimes' coach is, by the way, because some of the reason why Desmond Bain is in that position is because besides besides um besides Ja, they don't really have a true
I
number
think
two.
I think you oversimplifying it, bro. The both of us know that Taylor Jenkins
Right.
is baby Tibbs.
Baby
We
Tibbs.
know Taylor Jenkins is baby Tibbs, bro.
The only
The
thing is
dude
he
from
doesn't run his guys that many minutes. That's the only difference.
right.
He has those guys on a strict minutes diet. Like Jai's only playing like 31, 32. Jaren Jackson's at like 28 minutes a game or something like that. Like Bain isn't playing a super amount of minutes. So
Does Taylor Jenkins get his players hurt a lot?
I don't know if he does that intentionally. He's trying to save them, but I think inherently those guys just get hurt because
Mm,
their minutes are not crazy. Their minutes are pretty low actually.
baby Tibbs, bro. Baby
It's-
Tibbs.
that's not Taylor Jenkins' fault.
Does Taylor Jenkins have an explosive top 2 pick at point guard with um generational athleticism at point guard?
Right, he does.
I'm just asking, bro. I'm just asking.
I'm,
Taylor
I'm just
Jenkins is
saying, but he
yeah.
don't have no Luol Deng locking in 40 minutes a night either.
Nah,
Like
but he's got a
Luol is
but he's
clocking in
dude
in
playing
40.
like that in Desmond Bain.
I don't know, man. I don't know because they're like over there. They're really about load management, which is this is weird. Tibbs would never abide by
Does
load
Dylan
management.
Brooks remind you of Jimmy Butler?
A trash version of Jimmy Butler.
A very young version of Jimmy Butler, right?
He ain't that young. He's like
No,
27 now.
right, right, right.
But I mean, he's an elite defender. I'll give him that. But his offense is very inefficient.
Like Jimmy Butler at the same age, around the same age, bro. Right, and the thing is this ultimately. Do the Memphis Grizzlies have a top 10 big with diversified skills that stays hurt?
Is Jaren top 10? He's French top 10. He made the All-Star game, so yeah.
No. I'm talking about draft. I'm talking about in the draft. Jaren
Mm,
Jackson was a
yeah,
top
yeah.
10 pick,
Oh, he
and
was
so
a
was
top 10 pick. Okay, yes.
yes, and so was Joakim Noah.
Uh,
Yeah, so was Joakim Noah, bro. It's Taylor Jenkins is baby Tibbs, bro. And I know we don't want to give Tibbs credit, but the one thing Tibbs did. The one thing Tibbs did, man, and we got to give him credit. Tibbs took the ice pick and roll and turned it into a thing. Now you see it so much on every level that you don't even think about it no more.
they don't have to
Teams
call
getting
it. They just point out the communication is even said without being said. Like kind of.
right, bro. You can't even go to a high school game now without watching coaches ice the pick and roll.
And well, to be fair, it's because in high school there's usually only one guy that can get a bucket, and he's the guy getting the screen. So they're like, get that ball up out his hand.
Right.
So ice it immediately, because everybody else can't really dribble the ball and chew gum at the same time.
Right. Right.
which is fair enough at the time that Tibbs introduced it. Not every at that time in the NBA, not everyone could
Nobody.
dribble, pass, and shoot.
Yeah.
Not everybody could dribble, pass, and shoot.
Right.
If you had three guys that could dribble, pass, and shoot, icing doesn't necessarily help you as much. But once you have
So
capable guys, it blows it up.
think about at the time that Tibbs introduced the ice pick and roll, right? NBA teams legit were like, no, we want our guards to be taller. At one point, the Pacers had a 6'7" shooting guard, bro. At one point, the Chicago Bulls had a 6'6" shooting guard, bro. Portland had a 6'7", 220-pound shooting guard, bro. And defenses couldn't adjust because just straight up man-to-man and defensive principles and all that stuff, the Casey Jones, because back then Casey Jones was a defensive mind in the NBA. Right before Tibbs, everybody was just copying Casey Jones' defensive strategies where you deny the big, you basically make teams throw long passes. Yeah. Make teams throw long passes, and what it does is it wears down the shot clock. And then at the end of the shot clock, they have to force up a prayer. Just go get the rebound and get out in transition and run.
And it was mostly because that game was inside out at that point. Like teams were built on getting their buckets in the paint out the post.
Right.
And then they had like role players that will spot up for three here and there occasionally. But making the long pass make it even more difficult to get into their sets.
Right.
And I was gonna say the icing pick and roll is icing of the pick and roll is what basically sent LeBron to Miami.
Yes. And the thing about what Tibbs did is basically Tibbs is like, yo, y'all out here running power forwards at the 2. I'm gonna make that power forward. I'm gonna make that joke a ball handle, right? And it worked, right? Think about some of the teams you saw, bro. Think about the Pacers, bro. They had Jamal Tinsley, Paul Pierce, Danny Granger, David West, and Roy Hibbert on the floor, bro. I mean, how much height do you need on the basketball floor, bro? You got Paul George at the 2, Danny Granger at the 3, David West at the 4, Roy Hibbert at the 5, bro. All I'm saying
was it George Hill? George Hill was starting, right? He was a big guard for them too, if I recall. George Hill was starting at the point guard for them at that point, wasn't
he? Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and he was 6'3" with a crazy wingspan.
Right.
So they were super big, and then you basically use their length against them and put them in uncomfortable positions for their skill set.
Era, the Detroit Pistons had a 6'7" shooting guard, a 6'10", 6'11" small forward, and Tayshaun Prince. They had a 6'11" power forward and a 6'9" center. Right?
Ironically, they were running the modern switchable defense at that point.
Right. With a weak side shot blocker, 2 communicators on the baseline. Basically, you had 2 communicators on the baseline, like Draymond Green and Kevon Looney. Two communicators there. One got one side, the other got the other side, and they communicate and they come in. Yeah. I mean, so basically, what I'm saying about Tibbs is we don't want to give Tibbs credit for anything, bro.
He evolutionized modern defenses for sure.
Yes. Let's just give Tibbs some credit for something. Because dudes legit, NBA teams legit. Yo, the Lakers at one point had a 6'6", 6'7" shooting guard, bro. I mean, think about how big human beings were before we started icing pick and rolls and making ball handlers handle the ball again.
Yeah, then
Right.
that made the NBA shift to getting more skilled players, regardless of what their height is.
Right. Yep. Yep.
So now it's leaning. It's like the envelope is continuously being pushed to guys where you can't just be a 6'7" shooter. You have to be
Right.
able to put the ball on the floor.
You
You have
have
to
to
be
be a
able to make
6'7"
decisions.
doer.
Yeah,
Right. You had to. You either took one approach. Either you put 2 point guard type guards on the floor, or you got your power forward involved in the ball handling and stretched him out to the perimeter.
right.
You know what I'm saying? So either you went in with the backcourt of 2 6'3" guys, like a 6'3" point guard, 6'3" power, 6'3" shooting guard, and you could attack a defense from both sides of the floor, or you got your power forward and small forward involved, like a Rashard Lewis, Hedo Turkoglu involved in the ball handling, where now you can't ice the pick and roll because the dudes that are wide open on the backside of that pick and roll defense
Can exploit
are
it.
going to be dudes that are 6'10" that can knock down the three and pass it.
Right. And that basically led to when I said Braun went to Miami, it basically forced him to find guys that are skilled and dynamic while also being big for their positions,
Right.
or play big for their positions.
Right.
It basically ushered in. It got rid of the one-dimensional player on elite teams. Like, you can't have a guy on the court that only does one thing really well.
It basically ushered your Shaquille O'Neal's out of the league. And I know that sounds crazy, but 33-year-old Shaq was still pretty good. 35-year-old Shaq, nah, bro. Sorry.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, if we were to say Giannis is whatever, this version of Shaq in today's NBA, Giannis still averages 5 assists. Like, because he has to. He
Right.
needs to.
Right.
Otherwise, the other players on his team, like, it would be Giannis getting 50 with other guys on his team not getting anything, and then it would lose by 10 points because his secondary players didn't get activated or used to their ability or skill set.
Right.
Like the two-man game, the two-man game got eliminated by Tibbs, because before it could just be straight up, I'm gonna run pick and roll with Kobe and Shaq, and there's nothing you can do. I'm gonna run pick and roll with Wade and Shaq, and there's nothing you can do.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing with the Kobe and Shaq pick and roll. When you run the pick and roll with Kobe and Shaq, right, on the floor, you also had Derek Fisher, Robert Horry, and some form of knockdown shooter, Rick Fox.
Oh yeah. Two knockdown, or like Rick Fox or something like that, or Devin George, or whoever,
or Trevor Ariza,
right? Or Meta World Peace. We're
Right.
just going by triangle offenses.
Or Devin George, Jermaine Jones, whoever, insert whatever role player.
Right.
Right? Lamar Odom, whoever. Right? How that relates to the Knicks? I'm going to say this. The Knicks coming out of the All-Star break, watching film, and this is just analysis. This is just me breaking down what I've seen and just putting some thoughts to it. I don't think Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are feeling the RJ Barrett hijacking the ball thing. You can tell. You can get that vibe. Like, I think Brunson and Randle like playing together. And they like playing with RJ, so I'm not making up narratives, right? But I feel like they're
making is just not what they're into.
Especially when you see RJ miss a shot at the rim and there are 2 wide open Knicks on the perimeter.
with their hands, waving, begging for the
Right.
ball.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I feel like it's like RJ sometimes stuck in his own head because we've seen him have the ability to make the right read or the simple read when his first option isn't open and his second option, the lob, isn't open. Sometimes it's just okay to kick it back out and reset
Right.
the drive and kick dynamic. That is.
Right. And you don't have to do it. If you're RJ, kick that ball out, man. Right. You drove to the rim, nothing's there. Kick it out to the perimeter. Right. And once that pass, wherever you pass that ball to, you take yourself and your defender in the opposite direction. Right.
Right,
What,
his turnover ratio would be so much lower, or his shot percentage would be higher if he just didn't force it. We
right.
would be talking about like a 45% guy if he just didn't force it, like if he just gave up, gave it
Right.
to someone else.
45% and maybe on more shots.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because the thing about basketball, those of us that played at a high level, I say I played at a high level, man. I played in high school, man. I played some in the military, played a little bit of college ball, but it wasn't NCAA college ball. It was like, your intramural, you got a
Yeah.
coach, you got the fake uniforms and all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
You ain't got
Yeah.
no jerseys. Everybody out there with t-shirts on. Yeah.
Just hooping. Just hooping.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying is one of my coaches told me, like, bro, if you passing the ball there, why are you and your defender following the pass?
Mm.
You follow your shot, pass the ball over there, and then you go in the opposite direction
And relocate, and
and
you'll get the
relocate.
ball right back. You get the ball
Yeah.
right back. It's something that you see IQ do every game, literally every game. Emmanuel quickly.
Right.
He'll drive, he doesn't necessarily have it, kick it back out, relocate. Yeah, like a
Right.
little quick screen from like Hartenstein or something, and put the ball right back up because you once you put the energy in, you'll get the ball back. There's energy in moving the ball, and there's power in moving the
Right.
ball. And once you
Right.
keep it moving at a kaleidoscope, you're bound. The ball is gonna run right into you if you put the effort in. So
Right.
like a lot of times it feels like once RJ drives and kicks, he relocates. And
Right.
I've seen him, I remember particularly in second year RJ, this might have to do with his stamina as well. In his second year, he would dribble drive, kick it back out, and relocate to that corner three for like
Right.
Randall or something. And Randall would just hit him right back and he put that corner three right back up. But as far
Right.
as RJ, it's like he's spent. It's like his stamina button is just gone by the time he makes his first move into the
Because
paint.
he's spamming it. He holding down the R trigger. You know what I'm saying?
It's like he gets
So
into the paint and all his stamina is gone.
yep.
So he doesn't relocate. With IQ, you can see IQ takes a lot of cues from Stephen Curry. In certain things that IQ does. When IQ said Stephen Curry is one of his favorite players, those are one of the things that he's adopted from him. Is
Right.
the fact that when he penetrates the defense, doesn't necessarily see what he wants. He'll kick the ball back out and he will immediately relocate and find the open spot on the court. Now it's on us to usually find him. On the Warriors,
Right.
they weaponize that ability from Stephen Curry a lot more because Stephen Curry is obviously one of the greatest shooters to ever play. But
Right.
when IQ does it, he relocates. He basically corrects our spacing and allows another person to become the driver if he doesn't necessarily get the ball right back.
Yeah, and part of that has to do with too, also that they've had one coach over the last 10 seasons, basically. And even
Yeah,
though Walton was the coach for a little while, and Mike Brown was the coach for a little while,
same
the
system.
real coach, yeah, Steve Kerr was still the coach. He was just out due to injury, right?
And it also has to do with like IQ as well because I
And
saw
continuity.
continuity, but I saw basically There's like a graph that shows like the ability of like off ball big men in terms of pass creation and all these things. And
Okay.
Draymond Green is at the top of the chart out of all off ball big men in the history of the NBA. He's like every year they have marked 2014, 2015, 2018, 2020, and he keeps
Right.
pushing his name towards the top end of the chart while every other big is beneath him in terms of that skill. So when we talk about how the Warriors operate, yes, it's based off of how great Steph Curry is, but Draymond Green is arguably one of the smartest players to ever play basketball, period.
And they run triangle principles every night.
Right.
Now, do they run the triangle all night long? No. Right? But where Mike Brown takes elements of the triangle, and I think in Sacramento they call it the trident or whatever they call it.
But it's
Like
really triangle. But it's
Yeah.
really
Yeah, but they just run it at a faster, more attacking pace.
yeah,
It's,
and like the guard and the big are next to each other initiating it. Like they're the decision makers for the most part. And they play off of each other. And then the third player is usually in the corner or at the top of the key. Like they empty out a side and they let the big and the little operate the pick and roll, but in inverse kind of way. Like they two-man game basically.
right.
And they pick directions. So the play, it will be the same play over and over, but there's like 4 different looks out of it, depending on what the
Yep.
guard decides to do, where if he wants to cut inside or outside, or manipulate the dribble handoff with the big if the big wants to roll as soon as he gets the ball.
The threat of the pass, the threat of the dangerous pass is always there.
Right.
It's one thing that's missing from the Knicks offense. The Knicks will not throw contested passes. Right?
That's why we're at the bottom in the league of turnovers. Well, the top of the league. Well, depending on how you look at it. We have the least. We average the third least amount of turnovers in the league.
Right. But you're also in the bottom of the league in assists.
Right. It's almost like the way we play is built for like late 2000s playoff basketball, relatively speaking, which is a signature of Tibbs, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, provided you have the offensive talent for it, which we do on most nights. We do.
Right. My biggest issue is in our offense, we won't throw those contested passes. So guys are cutting. They don't cut hard and look for the pass.
Because they're not expecting it. Yep.
Right. And then it's Michael Vick to Algie Crumpler all over again.
And then it's back to the simple two-man game that's easy to load up on. And thankfully, we have some talent that can overwhelm whatever coverage it sees on a night-to-night. But in the playoffs, when you're being scouted for it, teams are just going to be even more aggressive to cut off your water, which is what you want, more like a more diversified offense to come into play. Because if teams are not sitting on the obvious play, or if they are sitting on the obvious play and you beat them over the head with just a simple backdoor, it'll make them stop over hedging or stop being as aggressive.
Yep.
Because once we get to the playoffs, the moment Brunson hits a shot or two, he is getting blitzed on the pick and roll or hedged extremely hard. And that is the opportunity for, like, for instance, Grimes' man might come up and hedge just to help. That's the opportunity for Grimes to immediately take off and cut. While guys hedge a turn, but you don't necessarily do that or take advantage of that, even when guys do cut. Like Obi cuts a lot and he doesn't get the ball, and you see the frustration on his face.
Right. But here's the thing. Like what you just mentioned. when Brunson runs one or two, or hit knocks down, say 3 or 4 shots. Say Randle comes out, knocks down 3 threes. Brunson comes down, knocks down 3 or 4 shots. The offense is clicking. Now, Randle doesn't have that 3-pointer because teams are going to play up on him. And Brunson is going to they're going to hedge like what you mentioned. Is that not the time to run the double drag screen that Boston runs?
The perfect time to run it.
It's the perfect time because the defense is stretched out so far that you'll have driving lanes for Randle and Josh Hart or whoever the 3 is.
And this is why I'm kind of wary of how our off playoff offense would look like, because hypothetically, well, for instance, Jason Tatum averages 30 points, right?
Okay.
But it's there. They have very rare possessions where it's just one pass and the shot goes up. Jason Tatum often gets his bucket off of the 5th or 6th pass in a possession. Right. When our guys get buckets, it's 1 or 2 passes max.
Right.
And that's not putting defenses on their heels or on their toes.
Right.
They're just loading up and seeing what's going to happen, and we're just successful at it because Brunson is playing like a superstar. But the thing that you do to leverage someone playing like a superstar even more and have them looking like a megastar, which Tatum has been looking like this year, is when you have the ball moving and you have defenses on their toes, and then you already have a guy that has a physical advantage, and you're giving him even more of an advantage when the defense is coming in on a hard closeout, off balance. He can attack a closeout. He's already deadly, and it's just like it's compounding. It's like a multiplier effect.
Right.
And more passes puts the defense in more pressure and more peril. And I think when you speak on putting Grimes in that position to play and make more, just Grimes deciding to put the ball on the floor creates an extra pass or 2. Just Grimes even getting the ball means there was one pass.
And the reason why I say that is because it all comes down to this. When heading to the rim, Grimes reads the defense. Is Quentin Grimes a willing passer? Yes or no?
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Sometimes to a fault. Too willing.
Right. Grimes is a more of a willing passer than RJ Barrett. Josh Hart is more of a willing passer than RJ Barrett.
Right.
Just off that. Now, the pass doesn't have to lead to a shot, right? But the pass can lead to a better shot. You pass up a decent shot for a good shot. And you pass up a good shot for a great shot.
Defenses are rotating. They're late to closeouts. Because sometimes just open up another 3-pointer for Brunson or Randle or even RJ.
Right. Do you remember how many uncontested dunks Andrew Bogut used to get with the Golden State Warriors? Remember that? There's a Golden State Warrior wide open underneath the rim. It's Andrew Bogut for the dunk.
And somehow Draymond always – matter of fact, it doesn't even have to be Bogut. What's his name? Looney gets so many wide open layups and shots up just because the ball is moving and men are moving so much that it's impossible to track your man at that point. It's impossible.
Right.
For 24 seconds straight. It's impossible.
Right. And I'm not saying that Bogut would get like 10 uncontested dunks a game.
I'm saying timely.
Like 2 or 3. You'd be like, yo, how did Tristan Thompson not see him? Oh, Clay was wide open in the corner. Somebody had to scramble out and get him. Right?
And then,
you give up
and then later on into the game, they run the same set. And then you keep an eye out for Bogut so he doesn't get the open layup. And then the weak side 3-point shooter that happens to be one of the greatest shooters of all time is just wide open for some reason.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so what I'm saying for the Knicks is this. Going down this stretch, I believe we have to be more unselfish passers.
Right.
Right? More and selfishly, if you're Grimes, you have to take more shots. right? You have to make yourself more of a threat offensively if you're Grimes, right? And now I'm not saying take 17 shots a game, right? But at the moment, what's he taking, like 7 shots a game as a
I
starting
believe
shooting
that
guard?
it's definitely like 7 or 8 or something like that. It's nothing
As
crazy.
a starting shooting guard, you should be taking more than 7 shots a game,
And this
especially if you're
pace of
playing
the
36
NBA,
minutes.
and this in
Yeah,
this particular era of the NBA, when everybody that's a starter takes damn near 10 shots, the only guys that don't take that many shots are non-scorers, complete non-scorers,
right,
and they don't play starters minutes in this
right,
iteration. Yeah,
right. No doubt, no doubt. And so it's the reason why I started the conversation the way that I did is because when you, I don't want y'all to go back and do homework, but I do want you to envision a world, and this is to the chat. I don't want y'all to go back and do homework, but what I do want you to envision is a world where RJ Barrett's drives to the rim goes from about 13 to about 10.
Mhm.
And RJ Barrett's wide open, uncontested 3-pointers go from about 1.2 a game to about 3.5.
Mm. Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
You basically swap, contested shots at the rim for wide open 3-pointers in the corner.
And
And
it's
every
not
time,
necessarily like when I hear this, and it's not necessarily saying RJ should even drive less. He should just drive to kick with the sole
right,
purpose of driving to kick and relocate, and then you might get an open three off of that type of action.
or read the defense as you drive to the rim.
Hmm.
Right? If RJ Barrett reads the defense, it's simple. If you going left and out of your peripheral vision, you see a guy coming your way, just wrap around the pass to him, to your man in the corner. Right?
Right.
Why is that hard? Because you have your man and the center protecting the rim and a dude collapsing from the corner. That's 3 defenders. And you're one person.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right?
It's
I mean,
it's like basketball is a simple game and complex at the same time.
right.
Because if you simplified RJ's read to just tell RJ, hey man, just dribble the ball in the paint and kick it out, his numbers across the board would just look completely different instead of
Right.
forcing it as much as he does, I guess, to hit a quota. But maybe he doesn't see the game as deep in the moment as he might need to. And we
Right.
don't necessarily have the type of coach that would emphasize that. Where
Okay.
where Tibbs is just like, you know what, we need someone to slash. RJ, you can slash. Doesn't really matter if it goes in or not because we're crashing the glass to get the rebound anyway.
Right. Right. What I'm saying, and ultimately, and because I want to kind of move on from this a little bit so that we can kind of wrap up and get out of here too.
Got you.
How likely are the Knicks to make noise in this year's playoffs?
You want like a percentage?
Maybe.
I'd say 60, 40.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd say 60, 40.
So you think the Knicks are going to make noise in the playoffs?
I think we're one of those teams that teams do not want to play. Regardless of whatever the outcome may be, we're not a fun team to play because we beat teams up. Like, whoever comes out from a series with us and they beat us, they're going to be softened up for whoever faces them next.
Or whoever else. Yeah.
Like, they're going to be a quick 5-game out after us.
Like New York Giants football.
Right. Just
Hey,
soften guys.
is Marquise Morris a free agent right now?
Markeith,
Yeah,
he got traded to the Nets, didn't he?
he sure did. Yep, he sure did. Okay.
He's on the
All
bench. They
right.
have just way too many wings, though. He could hypothetically, if he wanted to, get bought out to go somewhere because I don't believe he's playing at all over there. Marcus
Do
Morris is
you?
still on the Clippers, though. That I do know.
They gave him at the time they gave him that $16 million. I thought it was the bag. Now I'm like,
I'm just
that's
like,
nothing.
it's not. Yeah, it's not the bag, but I also feel like they probably don't want to pay him for whatever his production is. Like they
Right.
might feel like it's better used elsewhere because at this point they have a couple other wings in that 6'7", 6'5" range that are a little bit more productive.
Okay.
Because he starts games, but he doesn't finish games or whatever.
Right. Yeah, they finished with Batum, right?
Yeah, they finished with Batum and that 6'5" explosive guard that dunked on Randall. I forgot his name, but him too.
Norm Powell.
Yeah, Norm Powell. They closed games out with Norm Powell and him. They also got Westbrook today, by the way. So
Wow.
yeah, they went
Paris
out with
Duggar,
Westbrook.
thank you for the generous contribution. Paris Duggar says if Tip coaches men's well, we'll win a
Minutes,
round. Yeah, yeah,
minutes. Yeah.
yeah.
I believe we go. I believe provided we get into the 5 or 4 seed, we'll win a round. Now,
Trey, so
noise. What I consider noise is taking like 2 games in the second round and making it hard on that top 3 seed, top 1 or 2 seed, which I think is pretty plausible. Because
okay.
on any given night, Brunson can give you superstar production, and so can Randall.
It's okay, Randall.
And if they
Right.
don't have that happen, if RJ's efficient, we can basically eke out a game against anybody. Because there's a baseline of production from Randall and Brunson that you can
Okay.
come to expect, even if they're off.
Right. One dude's going to give you at least 20 and 10. The other one's going to give you at least 20 and 5.
Right. There's a baseline. And if
Yeah.
RJ decides to give you an efficient 20, then it's pretty hard to lose at that point. Like all the games where Brunson, Randall, and RJ have been relatively efficient, I don't believe we've lost, period.
It's
Like,
rare, though.
yeah. It's rare. It is a very rare occurrence.
Um,
But it's funny, like for a long stretch of the season, we had like the highest scoring triplets in the league
yeah.
for a very long
Yeah.
stretch of the season.
But what about the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and
Oh
9
yeah,
scorers?
nah, we that's something
They
else.
wasn't doing that. They wasn't doing
Well,
that.
well. Quickly wasn't doing nothing for the first 2 months of the season,
Yeah.
basically. Then he
Um.
turned into a hyper efficient 6-man. If
Yeah.
Quickly played this all year, he'd be the 6-man of the year, which is funny enough.
I'm gonna say this about Quickly, bro. I don't think Quickly and Grimes can coexist. And
Quickly
the
and Grimes?
reason,
Why do you say that?
Quickly and Grimes. I'm trying to get there. I'm gonna get there. Hold on. Let me get there. I'm gonna get there.
Let's get in the bag.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with their personalities, right? And it has nothing to do with their on the court production, right? I think it has everything to do with they have different types of games where one guy at times can be very ball dominant and makes the other guy disappear.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? There'll be stretches during games where Grimes can play like a legit hour and a half
Without touching
in
the
real
ball.
time and not even score.
And that's
And
almost
it has nothing to do with.
and
Okay,
I'm not to cut you off, Freezie, but I think that's a product of just how our offense operates. Because if there was more man movement, there would be Grimes getting hit on the odd cut every few minutes or so.
but that's the point that I started this
Yeah.
conversation with. Right? That's the topic that I started the conversation with. Right? Here's the thing. What happens if Quickly spots up for 3 in that short corner and Grimes is the ball handler going to the rim? And the defense doesn't leave Quickly, so now Grimes is one-on-one at the rim. I like that matchup.
I like it if
Grimes
he's going to his right hand.
right? And I would say I like Grimes going to the rim, finishing on his man if the defense doesn't sag off of quickly, right?
Right.
And I also like if Quickly's man comes to help against Grimes, I like Grimes finding Quickly wide open for three.
Right.
Now, mind you, you notice I didn't insert RJ there, right? RJ Barrett in this situation, I think RJ Barrett is a black hole to those two guys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But
There's no
if you
chemistry. Yeah.
right, but if you insert Obi Toppin, if you insert Obadiah there, right? Either Obi sets the screen or Obi is the outlet three in the opposite corner. I like Obi Toppin for three if the defense collapse. I like the horizontal spreading of Quickly in one corner, Obi in another corner, right? Wide open for three, waiting on that pass. Now, mind you, Knicks fans will say this. Oh, let me say, Paris Duggar, thank you for the generous contribution. Paris Duggar says, Quickly and Grimes have great court success, though. In terms of, Paris Duggar, in terms of winning, yes, right? But on the last show, I pointed out numbers and put them on the screen that when Quickly gets off, Grimes does not get off. And when Grimes gets off, Quickly does not get off, right? And it's not that I'm trying to put one against the other. I'm not. What I'm saying is I'd like for them to play together in that team concept where Grimes gets to facilitate and play make more and take advantage of his natural given skills. That opens up open shots for Quickly, right?
And if you notice, a lot of times teams put their weakest defender on Grimes.
Yeah. Because he's not a threat.
Yeah. He's not making himself a threat.
I like to call it bullocking.
They really be trying to put Trae Young on him.
Yeah. And Paris Duggar says all of the 2021 summer guys play well together. And so I get that point. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm not saying that the guys are bad, right? Right. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I think if you are open to a situation where Grimes can play make more, give the defense a different look, right? With Brunson and Randle on the floor with RJ, and Grimes gives the defense a different look. I think there are certain things that you'll see adds a new wrinkle to the offense, right?
I agree, Freezie. And I wanted to chime in one thing. Like, if you notice, like sometimes when our tertiary players make a good play, we very rarely go right back to it.
Right back to them. Yep.
Very rarely. Like sometimes you'll see the odd like pick and roll action when Grimes and someone else are big or something. It works, right? We won't go back to it.
Right.
We'll just go right back to Brunson.
Tibbs may even take him out the game. We saw that with Miles McBride. Remember Miles McBride hit the 2 threes back to back? And we're like, yo, Miles McBride hit 2 threes in one game. Next thing you know, he got on the Black History t-shirt on the bench. And you like, Tibbs, come on, man.
Like,
and so Paris Duggar says, Tibbs insists on one-on-one play offense.
And like, you have to sometimes if your role players have it going, sometimes a role player can give you a superstar type caliber performance. Because I remember watching earlier in the season, right? I was watching the Clippers play.
Right.
And Zubac came out the game hot, right?
Right.
So they just kept feeding them and kept letting them dominate the glass, and they kept playing them, and they kept feeding them and kept feeding them. And Zubac finished the game at like 30 and 30. Because they just kept going to him. And Zubac is nothing more than a role player. But when you see someone have it going, you ride it until you can't anymore. And that's basic old school basketball, which is something I'm surprised Tibbs doesn't do, because in old school basketball and other coaches, when they see a play work, they keep going right back to it until you stop it. Like they'll run the
Dre,
same play 4 times in a row until
but
you
Dre,
stop it.
where you're unfair at though, where you're
Yeah,
unfair is Tyronn Lue is a championship level point guard. Was a championship level point guard in the NBA,
right.
right? And people remember Tyronn Lue for
Forget
getting
Steph.
stepped over by Allen Iverson,
Yep.
right? But nobody remembers, or only a few of us remember that the Lakers actually won that series 4-1.
Even after
And the
they stole
Sixers
that
won the
first game.
first game. They won the first game, and the Lakers absolutely washed them the rest of the way. The Lakers were undefeated in the playoffs until that point. Allen Iverson showed his rump, and then the Lakers got refocused and washed them the rest of the way. Right? So my point is, Tyronn, and these NBA coaches have, listen, Tom Thibodeau knows more about basketball than everybody in this chat put together.
Facts.
Right? But it's not about his knowledge base. It's about his mentality. Right? What type of coach is Tibbs? Tibbs is Buddy Ryan. Right?
He's gonna go with whatever got him there in the first place, no matter what,
Yep.
and not deviate.
Right?
Which is good in building winning habits. It's good in building up your floor to a very high level. But it may not necessarily be good enough to win you a championship, provided you have the talent.
Right. Like for legit, people forget Buddy Ryan was the defensive coordinator for 5 different Super Bowl losers. I'm sorry, Super Bowl teams.
Right.
Right? 2 different franchises. They forget that Buddy Ryan orchestrated the Purple People Eaters. That's Buddy Ryan. Right?
Mm-hmm.
People remember Buddy Ryan in
For the
Chicago winning the
Bears,
Super Bowl.
they only remember that, but
Right.
they don't remember his genius before then.
Right. The thing about Tibbs is that type of coach. Right? Tibbs is Buddy Ryan, Steve Spagnuolo.
Spags.
He's that guy. Right? He's that type of guy. He's not, when put in charge, it's defense first. Anybody can score the basketball. I ain't running nothing special.
Just
Anybody
make
can
it work.
score.
Just
Right.
make it work. Whatever works, we're just gonna use it.
Tibbs is like, yo, I already know NBA players can score. That y'all raised up on that. Every NBA player can score. Just go out there and get me buckets. I'll give you all the offensive freedom. Drake, think about this. How often have you seen Tibbs give dudes all the offensive autonomy ever if they play defense?
Shout out to Keith Bogans.
Right.
Shout out to Reggie Bullock.
Shout out to the Heinrich maneuver. Corey Brewers.
Ronnie Brewer.
Ronnie Brewer. I'm sorry. Ronnie Brewer. Ronnie Brewer. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Because I was gonna say Corey too. Then I thought about it for a second.
Right. The Nate Robinsons.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if you play D, he'll let you do what you want on offense, bro. Did you ever think that Julius Randle was this type of offensive player when we signed him? No, of course not. Do you want even better? Did you think Jalen Brunson was this type of offensive player when we signed him? No.
Nah, I thought he was just gonna be a low 20s type guy at best.
I thought I ain't gonna lie. I thought he was gonna be 17 and 6 on good efficiency.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I don't know. I assumed he would make it around 20s. I didn't think he would be around 24 with the same efficiency. I didn't think he was gonna make it that high. To be absolutely honest, I thought he was gonna get around 20.
The reason why I said 17 and 6 is because last year we had 3 guys that showed offensive flashes. RJ Barrett averaged 20 points a game. He had the huge game on ESPN on a Friday night. Obi coming down the stretch had like what did Obi have, like 2 35-point games
Yeah,
down the
40 in
stretch?
one game. Yeah, 40 in
Right.
one.
Emmanuel
The
quickly
last game
had
of the
2 triple
season.
doubles.
Yep.
Right. So I thought they were going to take huge steps, and Brunson was just going to be the Chauncey Billups, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But Tibbs gave him carte blanche to do whatever, and he's playing like a superstar right now.
Right.
Right. So let me ask this just real quick. So, do you see anybody on the scrap heap that can contribute to the Knicks rotation?
I'd have to check, man, because on the scrap heap right now. Let me check out who's on the buyout market right now. I'll tell you who's on the buyout market right this second. Will Barton is out there still. John Wall is out there. Russell Westbrook just got picked up.
Yep.
Patrick Beverly is going to Chicago.
Yep.
Derrick Rose may be bought out. We don't know. I don't know if he'd go, but according to Stefan Bondi from the Daily News, he said a source close to the situation wouldn't totally dismiss a buyout after the dust is settled on the new rosters after a crazy trade deadline. So
Okay.
Derrick Rose might be getting bought out. I think Will Barton will be, or I think he is already bought out. I don't know if he's
What
bought out.
does Will Barton come here and do?
He play defense and be a bucket, basically. A hired gun.
Isn't that what all teams want?
Yeah. Well, that's what title contenders definitely want. But who do you see on the trade market? Because on the buyout market, because Danny Green is out there. I think Danny Green's signing with someone.
I would love Danny Green. My only issue is Danny Green would take some of Grimes' minutes.
They're essentially the same type of player, except Danny Green is much older, coming off a reconstructed knee. So,
but he's from the island, right?
Right.
But he's from the island. He's a smart basketball player. He's won everywhere he's been, or for the most at every level.
He's been a contributor to winning.
Right. And is that not what you can you see a scenario where the defense is quickly Danny Green, Josh Hart, Randle, and Mitch?
Oh, the Cavs picked up Danny Green, by the way.
Okay.
So he's gonna be their backup 3 that provides some spacing when Okoro comes off the bench. Oddly enough, Okoro's offensive development is coming along. He's been shooting 50% from 3 over the last month and a half or something like that.
Bro, I told you at the trade deadline I would have did him for Obi, bro. Why Okoro fits is because for some reason this team likes 6'5" wing players.
For sure. This is 6'5" wing players that try to play bigger than what their size would indicate. Well, Hart for sure plays bigger than 6'5". Hart plays like he's 6'8".
Right, and so does Okoro.
Right.
The only difference is Okoro has a negative wingspan,
but he has the bunnies. He has the hops to overcome that.
Right.
Usually, guys with shorter wingspans have better jumpers, for the record,
and handles.
Right. So eventually, it's kind of like not a shocker. He figured out how to be a catch and shoot guy at some point.
You know what his issue was with his shooting? It was never that his form was terrible.
He had a hitch, didn't he?
No, not in year 2 and 3. I'm talking not first year Okoro. First year Okoro was terrible.
Right.
I'm talking about his issue. His issue was finding his shot in the offense.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Think about how awkward Cleveland's offense was. Right? They sometimes they had 3 7-footers out there, and Garland and Okoro out there, a non-ball handler. And so it's just a bunch of stuff. Now that they're going back to more conventional, you see Okoro hooping.
Mm-hmm. Like his role has been solidified, and they've kind of cut back on Karis LeVert. So
Right.
he feels safe, and like he feels like he has a home. So they're
I
gonna probably
contributed.
re-sign him for a nice team friendly contract.
I contributed directly to them adding Donovan Mitchell.
Because he creates so much space
Right.
for role players to just focus on shooting open shots.
Yep.
Because I'm just gonna break down the defense. No matter what I do, I draw attention. I draw a crowd. Like he has this warping effect on the defense that not even Garland has.
Right. Right. All right. So one last thing before I get out of here for the night, man.
All right.
Do you see Tom Thibodeau being the button pusher that gets us to the Eastern Conference Finals?
No. I think he'll get us within 2 wins of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay. Okay.
When
Well,
we get
I'm
to
gonna
the
get out of
second
here,
round
man.
and get to Game 6.
I'm
All right, Freezie.
gonna get out of here, man. This medicine has got me feeling a little wobbly, man. I got a blown out knee.
Oh, boss,
This
man.
one here is blown out,
And,
and then
the
I
other
have
one is too?
no. This knee is blown out, and then the foot. I have a foot injury. I'm getting X-rays on it, so I got X-rays on it, man, and I hadn't been back to the orthopedist yet. But I'm just hoping it's not a. I'm just hoping it's not a Liz Frank.
Oh, well, I'm hoping for a quick recovery, man.
Yeah, man.
We need the Chief Rocker up and running.
Yeah, man. If that's the case, then I'll probably be on Blorange Tears 18 hours a day because I can't go nowhere. And be in here with my feet up.
Yeah, just getting the blood flow, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
You get that last super chat from Duggar, Paris Duggar.
Yeah, I see it. I got him. So Paris Duggar, thank you for the generous contribution. Paris Duggar says Tibbs' situational coaching will doom us. I'm open to having that conversation in the morning. Like, is Tibbs the guy that can get us over the hump? You know, we'll see how things go tomorrow. Got a lot of stuff going on tomorrow. I can't give a specific time if I can get on or not. I got to catch up on a lot of stuff. But anyway, thank y'all for rocking with us. We out of here, y'all. Y'all have a good night. Peace.
Peace.